Welcome in to another episode, a new week here on 704 Unfiltered. I'm your host, Nick Sturdivant. All right, so we got a special guest here. We got a Morehouse man here in studio for this episode. So our next guest is a Morehouse graduate, a lifelong entrepreneur. He spent over 2 decades building businesses and communities across the Carolinas. As the founder of Kennedy Properties and Development, he leads with a vision of progress rooted in purpose. I didn't write that. I got it from his website. But I was going to take credit for it, but I couldn't. It's Shawn Kennedy here in studio of Kennedy Properties, of course. How are you doing, man?
My brother Nick, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Got
I'm feeling great.
Got your coffee?
Thank you for this.
No. That was, you
lifesaver.
That.
Yes, sir. Strong and black.
Yeah.
Strong and black.
You drink your coffee. Okay, so I thought you were kidding when you said you drink your coffee.
Nah, strong and black. I love cookies so much, so I got to cut sugar somewhere. So I cut it in my coffee.
How long have you been drinking your coffee just straight black?
So you want to talk about when I started my coffee addiction?
Okay.
So my coffee addiction started probably about 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, it just started 2 years ago. Growing up, my mother always consumed a bunch of coffee. Mm-hmm. I never understood why. So in my 40s, going to meet with community members. What do you want to meet for? Let's meet for coffee, And I was mostly meeting at Archive Coffee on Betty's Ford Road. Mm-hmm. So I started coming in there, drinking coffee constantly, And then my genetics kicked in and addiction kicked in for coffee. So now I need to drink 2 to 3 cups of coffee every single day. And it's not a good thing, but it keeps me going and it grounds me to who I am and what I am. So
I have
thanks for the coffee.
I have an organic coffee recipe for you. All right. So, stick with the black coffee, but add a little bit of honey. Add nutmeg. Add a little bit of cinnamon. You can add more, just depending on your tolerance for cinnamon, and some non-dairy creamer.
To the black coffee.
Okay. And it's guilt-free because that's natural.
I try.
It's natural. No sugar. I didn't say any sugar, any artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
Honey, nutmeg.
Well, I don't need it sweet.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make it sweet. It just makes it a little bit more, takes the edge off, right?
I definitely try, brother.
A little bit of non-dairy creamer or some almond milk or oat milk.
Excellent.
There you go.
Thank you for that.
Each one teach one. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Let's start from the beginning. Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Springfield, Massachusetts, the birthplace of basketball.
Oh, you had to bring that up, the birthplace of basketball.
The birthplace of basketball. Because people get confused with Springfield and the Simpsons, so I got to throw that in there. So Springfield, Mass., the birthplace of basketball, my hometown. Lived there till I was 18 years old until I went to Atlanta.
What? How did that experience, you said until 18, until you obviously went to college, how did that experience shape you? Like, who were your early influences?
So Springfield was a great place to live in. Mm-hmm. And I had a great family and great mentors around me. So many people in that community poured into me, besides church members, members at the local rec center, of course my mother and my father. I had 2 sets of grandparents, which is very rare, that were both in my life. So growing up in Springfield is a great thing, and like a lot of kids in Springfield and all across the country, basketball was my love. So essentially I spent every single day that I wasn't in school on the basketball courts.
Are you a Celtics fan?
I am a Celtics fan.
Ooh.
Yes, I am. And I tried to ride with the Knicks, but it was hard to do. But shout out to the Knicks fans out there. I don't know where they all came from, but hey, man, shout out to the Knicks.
This episode's going to come out a little later, so we don't know what's going to happen between now and when this episode drops. But as of now, Jaylen Brown is still a Celtic.
He's still a Celtic. But
so are you happy about that?
I want them to stay there, man.
Okay.
I just want them to figure that out. Eagles need to get out the way, and we need to go back to winning championships. So,
were you? You talk about 2 sets of grandparents. Did you grow up? I know for me, I grew up. I was obviously raised by my mom, but my grandparents had like a huge hand in me growing up. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, so when I introduce myself a lot of times, I always say I'm Queen Esther's grandson.
Okay.
My grandmother was the wealthiest person I ever knew in my life. She had a 3rd grade education, and she was a sharecropper until she was 19 years old in Tillery, North Carolina. But when she passed away, she had over 400 people at her funeral. She's affectionately known by everybody in the community as Mom. And again, if you wanted something to eat, you came to Mom's house. If you needed somewhere to stay, you came to Mom's house. Always laughed about it. In the house, 174 King Street, she owned. Every time I went there, and again, the school bus dropped me off there every day because my mom's a workaholic. We'll hit on that later. But whenever I went over there after school, there was always somebody new sleeping upstairs. And they were everywhere, you know. But she poured into anybody that wanted help. She helped them. And, you know, she was, I guess, in my eyes, a saint. She was probably one of the greatest people that ever walked this earth besides Jesus and Martin Luther King. My grandmother was a saint. Wow. And she gave back every inch she had. The little she had, she gave to other people. So, yes, my grandparents were a great inspiration to me, and my grandfather, Lewis Brantley, and then my paternal grandparents, Helen Kennedy and Haskell Kennedy Sr. So I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed to have great people in my life, great parents in my life, and then great grandparents where a lot of people don't get the chance to have.
That's a blessed childhood right there, man. Two sets of grandparents and parents. 2 sets. Man. 2
sets. Got to go to 2 different 50th anniversaries. I went to both sets of my grandparents celebrate the 50th anniversary.
So you knew at a young age, you knew what your life could be, right? Because I think a lot of young people, including myself, I was unsure what that, I knew I wanted better for my life. I didn't know what that looked like.
Well, I knew what stability was. And that is something that a lot of our youth don't get to see. That's why what we do with our community outreach, we make sure we show kids what stability can be. So that was one of the gifts that I got growing up on what the art of the possible is and what a household should be from my parents and my grandparents.
So you said, you know what, I'm going to Atlanta. I want to be a Morehouse man.
Yeah, well, it wasn't that smooth. We didn't butt my collar for this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it wasn't that straight. It wasn't that straightforward. So we digging into it. So along the way, I experienced a lot of stuff, and entrepreneurship was one of them that really drove me. So I had the opportunity to go to the United States Naval Academy to play basketball at high school. So went down to Annapolis, Maryland, and realized that Navy wasn't for me. And my goal at that point in life was to get a Division I basketball scholarship. I was okay. I was a D2 kid, right? But Navy offered me. So once I got that offer and got the chance to experience that, I felt like I reached my dream. So after that, I was like, you know what? Let me try something different. So transferred into Morehouse College, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I went to Morehouse sight unseen, didn't know anything about it. All I knew was it was in Atlanta, and I saw the Outkast videos. I knew about Freaknik. So I said, I'm going to Atlanta. And when I got down there, I learned what it meant to be a Morehouse man. I learned about all the great men that came before me that attended Morehouse. And it just changed my whole outlook on life. And that's when I truly started understanding that I was an entrepreneur. Played basketball at Morehouse for 2 weeks, quit the team, and started focusing on how to grow a business, how to open a business. So
talk about, speaking of that, talk about Halftime Sports.
Oh, we ain't got to halftime yet. We're going to talk about Black Season Entertainment.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I'm jumping the timeline a bit.
Yeah, you're jumping the timeline. Yeah. So the first thing I did, I started throwing parties. Okay. And if you went to a school in Atlanta between 1999 and 2005, you came to one of my parties. And our most known party was called the Latex. It stands for Louisiana and Texas. We used to have 4,000 college kids. And anybody watching this that was in school, they're like, man, I know all about the Latex party. Those parties were epic. So we did the Latex parties, me and a couple of my friends.
Louisiana, Texas.
And I'm not from Louisiana or Texas. I have no connection to Louisiana, Texas. But I was a businessman, and there was a large following of people from Louisiana and Texas. And there was a gentleman that did it the year before and had a great turnout, and he didn't do it right by the venue. He did it and everything else. So I went to the people that helped him, the 2 other people. I said, hey, man, I'll step in. I'll find the venue. I'll pay for everything. I'll give you guys a percentage of the door. Let me do the Louisiana, Texas party. And they agreed. And I started doing the Latex party. 4,000 kids. And then as Houston started becoming a music mecca, Louisiana already was, I started bringing in Mike Jones before he was famous, Paul Wall before he was famous. I had them guys flying on buddy passes to Atlanta, sleeping on my couch before they became who they were and performing at those parties. And they just took off, man. And from the parties, I started making a little money and trying to figure it out. And After that, I got into retail. So now we're on to halftime sports.
Halftime.
Right?
So, why leave the party scene?
I didn't leave it.
You didn't leave it. You
No,
kept it going.
Yeah.
Why add that to your plate?
Yeah, you don't. Just because you go into another business doesn't mean you have to stop your other business.
Okay.
You can do more than one thing. You can chew gum and walk at the same time.
That's fair.
Just had to bring in people to help me. And then by that point, from doing the parties, I had assembled a team of people who were like-minded, who had my back. And when I told them we're going into retail, they were all for it. So halftime sports. A lot of people say, Shawn, how did you open up a store at 19 years old? You know, did your mom do this? Did your father do this? Did your grandfather do this? Did your friend do this? No. Simple story is I was dating a young lady, and her sister's fiance owned clothing stores in Philadelphia. I went home with her for Thanksgiving, and I already had a plan because she had already told me about them. And we sat at the Thanksgiving dinner table, and, you know, I'm peeping him out like, okay. And at that time, he was about 29. Brother named Mike Harris. Love you, Mike Harris. After the meal, we all went out to hang out. And we went to a little bar restaurant. Again, I'm 19, so don't judge me. But we went there. We had some drinks. And the bill came, and I paid the bill. And I remember his face. He was like, I know this young brother just didn't pay the bill. Like, I pay the bill. You know, he ain't supposed to pay the bill. I'm the big guy at the table. You know, I own 5 clothing stores.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, you know, where'd you get that money from? I said, man, I throw parties. And he was like, you know, and he was intrigued and he was impressed. So I told him I wanted him to come to Atlanta one day to experience a party. So maybe a few months later, he jumped on a plane and came down to Atlanta to experience one of my parties. And again, unknown to him, I had already went to Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, and my girlfriend at the time, she shared his financial package with me as far as his business plan, what he presents to the malls and so forth to get in there. So I had already presented it to Greenbrier Mall before he got there. So when he got there, when he got to Atlanta, we went and hung out, and the next day I bought him Greenbrier Mall. And
the legendary Greenbrier Mall.
The legendary Greenbrier Mall. So if you know Greenbrier Mall, yeah, the World Foot Locker, which is one of the highest grossing Foot Lockers in the country. And I knew his business model was he tried to open up close to Foot Lockers. And he just tried to do a percentage of sales that Foot Locker did. So I already knew this in the back of my head. And there was a space open directly across the hall from one of the largest grossing Foot Lockers in the country. So I knew he would jump all over it. So I went in there, falsified that he wanted to be in the mall, presented the documents to the mall manager. They were so excited. He came down. I showed him the storefront. He was like, man, this will be a great location. I said, yeah. And by the way, we got a meeting with the mall in 30 minutes. So we walked in the mall management office. You know, he's looking at me crazy because he's got street clothes on. And we walked in there, and maybe 2 weeks later, he called me back and said, let's do it. So we opened up a Total Sports in Greenbrier Mall. At 19 years old, I had nowhere near the knowledge or the money that it took to open up a real retail store too. You know, at the time, you know, people walk in stores, they don't realize that all that inventory is net 30, but you got to have some sort of credit to get the net 30. If you don't have any net 30, any money credit, you have to pay for that stuff up front. And that's just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for hats and sneakers and T-shirts. But this brother put up all the money and believed in me. And I went in there, and we were the first ones in Atlanta to have Mitchell Ness throwback jerseys. In the city of Atlanta, when that fad just started kicking off, when Jay-Z first started wearing those jerseys, we had a monopoly in Atlanta.
Now I got to ask what happened when Jay-Z said, we don't wear, we 30 plus.
That's when I switched over to Urban Gear, but that's 4 years later. I'm early in this.
Yeah, it was a short run.
Yeah, I mean, it was a short one, but it was a great run.
It was a great run, yeah. It was a great run.
It was a product that everybody wanted. And like I tell my kids, when I was 19, 20 years old, I had every entertainer you could think of's number. And this is when we used to have the big sky tails used to flip open.
Yeah.
And what were they called? The Nextel chirp things.
My brother wanted one. My brother is 43, so he yeah.
Yeah, he's a little younger than me, man. I'm a good brother, man. But I had one of those, and I had everybody you could think of's number in there, man. From Jagged Edge to Big Boy from Outkast to Usher to T.I. Jeezy wasn't famous then, but I even had the infamous Big Meech and Blue Da Vinci, all the BMF guys. They were my customers in my store. So I had all those type of people that used to shop in that store. And through that, again, I was a very small percentage of that store. I went and opened up a kiosk in the Weston Mall. The Weston Mall is a small mall right next to the AU Center by Morehouse, Spelman, and all that. And then I put one of my good friends to run that for me. And that was really my first solo operation, which was the Weston. It was a kiosk. And when I mean that kiosk did numbers, that kiosk did numbers. And that was the start to my retail journey, man. And
you had to learn it from somewhere, though. I mean, you didn't say your parent. I mean,
my mom.
Your mom. Okay.
Yeah. So my mother is a beautician. She's a hairdresser. My mother graduated high school, went to hair school, and she's owned her own beauty shop now 50 years. My mother is 81 years old. She's currently at work right now. My mother loves what she does. And I talk about being a workaholic. It comes from my mother. My mother works 8-9 hours a day at 80 years old. And when I was a kid, she was working 12 hours a day. So that's where the hustle comes from. That's where the work ethic comes from. It comes from my mother, man, because I watched her, create her own hours, run her own business, deal with people, deal with the public, you know what I mean? Everything that comes with it. And it's just naturally in me, that entrepreneurship. So, yeah, it came from somewhere. I can't come in here and sit here and act like, it didn't come from no. My mother, I watched her growing up, and she always supported me. Like, I used to sell candy in middle school.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
A big hustle right there. Candy, the candy hustle. That's
I used to make a lot. I used to make probably $500-600 a week selling candy in middle school. You know what I mean? People are like, how did you do that, Shawn? And again, going back into my stories. My mother on Monday, hairdressers are off on Monday. So every Monday she would bring me to Costco, and I would buy big boxes of airheads and nomelators and everything else and have in my locker, and I would kill it. I set up a system, brother. Like, it wasn't me selling candy directly. I used to sell fanny packs.
Yeah.
$20, you get a fanny pack on consignment. So you would come to my locker at the beginning of the class or beginning of the day, I would give you a fanny pack. At the end of the day, you got to bring my $20 back in my fanny pack. And there was enough candy in there for you to make whatever, $40. So people will come and get their fanny packs, and they will go sell them, and they will bring me my fanny packs and my $20 back at the end of the day. And if you didn't have my fanny pack, one of my cousins will be on you, But that's a whole nother story.
Running like the mob.
But yeah, I did well with that. And then again, that was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. And by the time I graduated Morehouse, I owned 5 clothing stores, and I owned a bar on Peachtree in Atlanta at 22 years old, all while attending Morehouse on full United Negro College Fund scholarship.
I want to jump, which is amazing. I want to jump the timeline a bit. I want to get you to Charlotte. What? Okay, you're successful in Atlanta, Morehouse man. Why Charlotte?
So I just hit on it. It's not a good idea for a 21-year-old to have a liquor license. So had a bar right on Peach and Pine in Atlanta, and this say that I wasn't the most responsible bar owner at 21 years old. So from that, I was like, okay, it's gonna be hard for me to get another liquor license in the state of Georgia. So where could I go to open up another restaurant and bar? That was my goal. And Charlotte was 3.5 hours on the road. So I said, I'll go to Charlotte. Sight unseen, didn't know anybody here. I just knew it was close enough to Atlanta where I can get back to Atlanta and I can go operate a place. So I got in the road with one of my cousins. We drove up here to Charlotte, got an apartment on Moorhead Street, and then went to Eastland Mall, got a store in Eastland Mall, went to Farm Pond Shopping Center where the Bi-Lo used to be, got a store there, and I was here. And then after being here for a year, I opened up Allure, was a restaurant lounge right at 1508 South Main Street.
So just it continued. It was it sounds like a smooth transition.
Nah, it wasn't smooth, bro.
I mean, look, the story sounds smooth.
Yeah, I mean, you want me to go into the weeds? So
let's go to the weeds.
So the retail by that time, I had that together, and I opened up a North Tryon also in North Park Shopping Center next to Tyson's. So now I was up to 8 clothing stores. And I really wanted to focus on the restaurant bar business because the margins are a lot higher. And as you hit on, Jay-Z said, throwbacks. Weren't the style no more. Get a
He
button
tried to
up.
tank your business.
He tanked it overnight. So now I'm on Wilmore Road in Eastland Mall selling jabos and white tees. So if you were around, you remember those days. So the margins on that aren't very high.
Yeah.
So I needed to find another business where I could make higher margins. And again, I had the background in bars and restaurants. So that's what I went into. So I opened up Allure at 1508 South Main Street in Wilmore. And I always laugh because it'll go back as we talk further in my journey. Wilmore at the time was a historically black neighborhood. It's still a historically black neighborhood, but it's totally different than it is now. Now it's considered South End. Allure is now a sushi restaurant. That shows you how much the neighborhood has changed. And I remember people saying, "Why are you opening up in the hood?" At 1508 South Mint Street, you know, so if you know where that is, you're like, the hood. But at the time, 2005, 2006, they were calling it the hood. So opened up Allure, soul food joint, and I knew absolutely nothing about total food service. I thought I did at the time. I thought I had a little bit of knowledge, but I knew nothing about actually producing food. And it was a soul food concept, and I knew I thought my food was okay, but now I know my food was terrible. But people supported me, man. And that's why I love the city of Charlotte. And that's why I give back so much, where Attorney Ferguson and a bunch of black attorneys used to come by and just eat there a couple times a week. And they did it not because it was the greatest food in the world, but they did it because they wanted to support a young brother. Different sorority groups and the Links of Charlotte, those type of groups would come there and have their events at this young brother's place just to support him, right? So that kept my doors open. I had a great landlord in Vision Ventures, Paul Picarazzi, Doug Stevens, shout out to those guys, that gave me an opportunity and were patient with me as I grew my business. That doesn't happen anymore. But they were patient and allowed me to figure it out. And what I figured out was live music was the way to go. And how did I figure that out? Because again, selling food was cool, but the margins are very tiny. Right?
Yeah.
And I needed something for people to really stick to, and I stumbled into live music and created a Wednesday night called Soul Stage. So Soul Stage was all the rage, and it was due to the great musicians that we had, and so many great musicians came out of Soul Stage. So
and you kind of had some of the, just going back to your time in Atlanta, you had already some of those connects.
Well, those connects didn't come through with this. This was pure Charlotte, man. This was
pure
Charlotte magic, man.
Okay, all right.
I had a Wednesday night I needed to do something, and a brother came in and said, "Hey, man, me and my band want to come play in here." A brother named Rashard Jenkins. So we figured something out for them to come jam. So they would come in and jam, and again, I didn't have a budget. So I said, "Brother, I can afford to pay you $50 a man." He said, "I got 4 guys." I said, "I can only pay 3 of them. I got a $150 budget for you." So he figured it out, and they would come in and jam. That band was made up of himself, Adrian Crutchfield, who's now a world-renowned. Adrian was a kid at the time. He was in high school. His mom was bringing him there. Kenneth Leonard, who is married to a famous gospel singer now. He's a Grammy Award winner in the gospel music business. These guys were in there jamming, and then we turned it into an open mic. And some of the singers that used to come through there, like the Hamiltons, were discovered in Allure. When they give their ordination story, Vito, Tui, they used to come in there and perform as individual singers.
Cool guys, man. Like I met them in Greensboro about 9 years ago, man. So dope dudes, man.
They used to come in there and perform. And then by those guys coming in there, Anthony Hamilton started coming and hanging out. Fantasia started coming and hang out in there. And
High Point's finest, by the way, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Fantasia.
Shout out to Fantasia. Her brother Joe was a big supporter initially, and through them, you could come through there on a Wednesday night for $5 orders of chicken wings, and you never know who you're going to hear sing. And it just took off, man. It just took off. And again, it was God's blessing, being in the right place at the right time, man. And then a year later, CIAA started, and that just
it just took off.
Yeah, that took off.
That's a different beast right there. What was that experience like, CIAA?
Okay.
For those who don't know, because I gotta explain it. I sometimes I talk inside baseball, like people are from here. And
tell them about CIAA, and I'll tell you how I was involved in CIAA, or do you want me to go into it?
You go into it.
So CIAA is a division. I mean, at its basis, is the Division II historically black college basketball tournament.
Yeah.
But it was so much more than that.
Oh.
It was a gathering spot. It was a sense of pride. It was a place to be seen, and it became a national phenomenon for the years that I was in Charlotte, and I had the opportunity and the blessing to be a big part of it. And it just wasn't at Allure. So we had Allure, talking about bumps. First CIAA at Allure was a mess. I was not ready for the demand. Fantasia just had her show Fantasia for real, and we were on that thing, and we had a line down the street. I didn't know what I was doing. But I opened up my second place privilege on 3rd and Brevard, right behind the Epic Center. And the biggest blessing came maybe the second year, where a lot of people don't realize when CIAA first got here, there was a lot of negative press about the way that some of the businesses in Charlotte treated the customers that came in for CIAA. And the businesses uptown were trying to figure out the best way to, guide through that. So somebody was like, well, I knew it was. My landlord said, time, like, talk to Shawn. He runs a great business on South Main Street. Talk to him, and he can maybe help, with some of these businesses, how to deal with the clientele. So a lot of these businesses, I had meetings with them and talked about, things they can do to be more sensitive to the crowd and how to make money on the actual CIAA. And a few of them were like, I don't even want to be open CIAA. I'm going to shut down, and I can't get people to work and all types of stuff that people never admit up to today. So I was like, I tell you what, how about I rent your place from you for the entire week? I'll give you X amount of dollars, and I'll take over your place, and I'll bring my own staff in and run it for the week. And some of them were like, cool, let's do it. And then I ended up making a deal with the Epic Center for their vacant spaces. Like, hey, man, any vacant spaces that you have, I would love to come in and program them for that week and, bring in servers and everything. And they're like, cool. So the word started spreading, and a lot of restaurants, bars started calling me up like, hey, man, you want to buy us out for the week? So I went from having my 2 places, CIAA, man, I'll be operating 15 different restaurants and bars all
serious?
Uptown Charlotte. And that is kind of what took me to another level, was dealing with that. I mean, I would hire like 400 people to work that way. It would be nuts. And then, like, if you worked in one of my places, like, say you were a brand new, like, waiter, you could have started last week as a waiter in Allure. CIAA came, you were a manager. I gave you your own place.
The come up was real.
I'm like, come on, Nick. You going this week, you got your own place, you the manager. Make sure the food is coming out hot, make sure the bar's rolling, and I'll stop by, or somebody will stop by. But yeah, man, it worked out well, man. We were just at the right place at the right time, had the right credibility. People believed in me. A lot of people stepped up because, of course, those places were like, can this guy get it done? What happens if stuff happens? And a lot of people that were pretty prominent in the city was like, nah, this guy knows what he's doing. Give him the opportunity. And through that, man, it just took my career to another level, controlling all the events that happen around Uptown CIAA. Well, a lot of them. Yes, sir.
When did you shift away from the restaurant business? Like, when did you know, okay, it's time for me to, kind of like the retail business, when did you shift?
To go to another business, though, you don't have to stop the other business.
Okay.
I got a retail business when, again, the sales started dropping, declining, and leases ended, and I sold a few stores. With the hospitality business, I still stayed in it till probably 2022. But
very recently,
yeah. But what transition was 2009. I gotta keep giving my man a shout out. Big Paul Picarazzi, if you're out there. Paul is a real estate guy, and he was my landlord. And I went to him and I was like, hey man, I'm making some money. And I knew I was making money because when I went into the bank now, they actually talked to me. All right. Before, you come in, you make your deposit, whatever. Now it's Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Kennedy.
Hey, somebody in the back wants to talk to you. We have these investment products. Would you like to open up a CD? So I was like, hey, Paul, man, I need to invest my money. I knew that something I need to do again, something that my mother couldn't teach me, something my father couldn't, because they didn't understand investments. My mother understood how to run her beauty shop, but she didn't truly understand how money worked, right? And I needed to truly understand how money worked, because again, when you know about money, it's not you working for your money, it's your money working for you.
Yep.
And I had an ideal of that, like a lot of people, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad at that point. So I knew I needed to do something with money. So I went to Paul, 2009, and again, I was the perfect time and the perfect situation. I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, right after the real estate bust, and Paul said, buy houses in communities that you can see uptown from. So I started buying properties in a lot of neighborhoods that have changed, right? I bought 2 houses on Siegel Avenue for $13,000 a piece. Houses on Siegel Avenue are going for over $500,000 now. I bought a lot of houses.
That's unheard of now. Like,
I paid $26,000 for 2 houses from one guy. I was like, hey man, seen him out there cutting the grass. And he was like, man, I'm tired of cutting this grass. I said, what do you want for me? He said, $50,000. I said, I can give you half of that. He said, give me $25,000 and give me $1,000 for the closing fees. I said, the hell done. Crazy. But I bought houses on Freedom Drive, houses on Betty's Ford Road, houses all over the city. And again, there was no plan. People were like, was there a plan? And you picked the right neighborhoods. No, I did not pick the right neighborhoods. As houses came available that were in the range I could afford, I would buy them. Houses in Lakeview. So I started purchasing all these single-family homes as I made, and by this time in Charlotte, I had Vanity, which was on 5th and Graham Street also. So as I made money from my restaurants and bars, I would buy real estate, single-family homes, and I was buying them for $20,000 to $40,000. I never even went over $40,000 to buy a house in some of the more desirable neighborhoods now. But at the time, they were different neighborhoods, you know, and the communities were most of the people look like me, right? So bought these homes, and then from buying the homes, I started picking up commercial properties, bought a couple commercial properties on Betty's Ford Road. I bought a 38-unit building on Latrobe Street for $350,000, office building.
That's unheard of now.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
I mean, 2009, that period of the recession, of the housing crash. I mean, that's a time that, Yeah,
there was a lot of opportunities out there. And again, it's just not 2009, 2010, 2011. This is when I'm kind of figuring it out. So
kind of 2012 a little bit ish. Yeah.
And was just blessed, man. Right place, right time. If I had started buying properties 2 years before that, it would be a whole different story. If I was in my hometown of Springfield, Massachusetts, it would be a whole different story. Charlotte is one of the fastest growing cities in the country, if not the fastest growing city. And I happened to be here, and then the economy collapsed, and that's when I started buying. So I was blessed, bro. So from that, I started saying, okay, I'm doing well for myself. I had married my beautiful wife. Going into 2014, 15, I had these properties. I had my first child. We had adopted our first 2 children too, so we had 3 children at the time. And my dream growing up was to own a vacation home. To me, owning a beach house was like the greatest thing you could ever do in life. You know, I went to high school with a kid whose father had a house in Cape Cod, and it always blew my mind that anytime they wanted to, they can just go to the beach. Like, if they wake up in the middle of the night, let's go to the beach. So my goal was like, Shawn, buy a beach house. That is the ultimate thing in life, right? That is the peak of my ambition. And in 2014, I bought a beach house. And then after that, I said, okay, so what do you do with the rest of your life? God has given you everything you ever wanted. You got a beautiful home. You got a beautiful wife. You have great kids. And you bought the beach house. You have successful businesses. What are you going to do with yourself?
How old were you at this point? I could guess, but I mean...
I was...
You were in your late 30s?
Nah, man. How old you think I am, man?
All right. You said you were a little older than my brother.
Yeah, so I was early 30s.
Early 30s. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
right.
So you're not that much older than my brother. We'll get back to that.
Yeah,
we'll get back to that.
You're telling all my business on that.
My bad.
But, I was early 30s, and I was like, all right, how do I do more, right? because I didn't want more stuff. I didn't even understand what more stuff was because I wasn't exposed to that growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did notice is a lot of people that were in the communities where they look like me, a lot of people that worked for me didn't have the opportunities, advantages that I had, right? And how do I help them get to that level?
Hmm.
How do I help them achieve greater things? How do I help people be like Shawn Kennedy? And I hate to say it like that, but how did I get here, and how do I help my community? So the first thing I decided is I called some brothers to the house that I love and respect, and was like, hey man, I got to do more because I've reached everything I wanted, and the people that I made my money off look like me.
Mm-hmm.
People that came into my stores look like me. The people that rented my houses looked at me. The people that went to my restaurants and bars look like me. Very similar upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
very similar. So I'm taking from them, but I'm not giving them nothing. And that's a story that's very common in the African American community with other cultures, where they come into the communities, they make the money, and a dollar leaves. They say the dollars in the black community don't circulate. They come in for whatever, they say, an hour, 2 hours,
Yeah.
and it leaves the community.
Swoop in and head right back out.
While in other communities, it stays in there a lot longer.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm doing the same thing. So how can I help? So after that meeting with these brothers, we decided to do a camp. And like, what is a camp, Shawn? We were going to take 1 week out of our lives. We were going to take off a week of work and just pour back into young brothers. So we said, we're going to do a small camp at a small church over on Ashley Road. We expected 25 boys. So we put it on Facebook on Friday. The camp started on Monday. And we had 50 boys show up.
Doubled.
Double. So ran over to my man, brother Chris. He shot over to Walmart. My wife had made some turkey sandwiches. We had about 30 of them. So Chris shot over to Walmart, bought a hot dog maker. We hooked up some hot dogs for the rest of the boys. And again, I was like, we'll play basketball with them. We'll talk to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we played ball with them. We talked, and I was like, we got something here. We got something here. So the following summer, we're like, let's do it again. Let's expect 50 boys, all right? Put it on Facebook. We had 100 and some boys show up at this small little church. So we like, there's a demand. People want to come here, and this is absolutely free. We're not charging anything, right? And especially if the first camp, if you sent your kid back to the guys with the hot dog maker in the gym, they must have really got something out of that. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't organized.
Right.
We just in there putting up shots and
It couldn't be the hot dogs.
talking about self-love and going to college. And so we were like, people want to hear what we got to say. So we reached out to JCSU, John C. Smith University, and we were like, hey man, we want to bring this to your campus. We want to bring this to your campus. We need a bigger space and HBCU guys. So I'm like, there's no better location.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people, when you tell them stuff, they're skeptical. Like, this guy's talking about he's doing a free camp for the kids.
Right.
He's got funding. Something's going on. So they're like, all right, you can do it here. Pay us $10,000. So I was like, okay. So I paid them $10,000. I rented Bray Boy Gym. And this time we got to figure out the lunch thing. We had advances from hot dogs, you know what I mean? So now we're providing the kids lunch and all that, and we started developing our program, which was enrollment, enlistment, employment, and entrepreneurship, right? So every day we would talk about one of our 4 E's, and then the last day would just be fun. And we talked about, me and the brothers from Mech Invest, we talked about what got us to where we are. And all the brothers from different backgrounds, right? Mm-hmm. There's people like myself that went to college. There's brothers that went straight into the trades. There's brothers that went to prison in my group and then figured out as they had to come out. So we all talked about what made us happy, what made us successful. And success just isn't how much money you make. Yeah. It's like, success is what makes you happy, what makes you healthy, what makes you, what makes your community better. So we talked about those things. And then again, we started doing at Smith and teaching the 4 E's. And fast forward, bro, this is our 11th year coming out, man. We had already today, we've had 700 families apply already. And we're going to admit 300 young men to this camp. And we really go into how to be an entrepreneur, how to become a plumber, how to become an electrician, how to go to college. And then I hate to say it, but I'm they call me a hater at camp because I don't want to break anybody's dreams, right? But I want to make sure they have a plan B. So I told them kids straight up, like, y'all, I wanted to go to the NBA. That was my goal. When I was 11 years old, I was going to the NBA. And when I was 12 years old, I was 6'2.5".
Yeah, on track to go to the NBA.
I'm still 6'2.5", right?
If it makes you feel better, Jalen Brunson was around the same height.
Yeah.
Finals MVP,
yeah, he's a point guard. I was a small forward, right?
Well, there you go. Never mind.
But yeah, I tell him, I was like, man, like, the statistics to go to the NBA is 1 in 10,000. Statistics going to the NFL is 8 in 10,000, right?
Yeah.
The statistics for African American and Latino males to end up in some form of the system, and I'm not just talking about penitentiary, but jail, probation, is 1 in 3. It's 1 in 3. So I say, look to your left, look to your right. More than likely, one of the people you looked at will somehow end up in the system. Now let's figure out a way how to break that. And that's what my goal is that week with them boys, how to break that. It's not to get you to the NBA, it's not to get you to the NFL. It's to keep you out of the system and find a career path or a path where you can have a successful life, do well for your family, and become, a great man. And that's how we help these young boys. So we're blessed, man. We're blessed. People believe in our program. Mecklenburg County invested in the program just in the county budget just recently.
In a time where I'm not outside of Mecklenburg County, that funding is coming less and less. And again, this is outside of Mecklenburg County, but in general, you look at, nationally, funding is hard to come by.
It's very hard to come by, and you gotta really, again, we're black. You gotta really have the data for it. Yeah. Like I said, it took us, for the first 8 years, I totally funded the camp out of my pocket, right? That was my way to tithe. That was my way to give back. But then when I realized that we could do so much more if we tell the story, we started telling the story. Like doing stuff like this. If you would have told me to do this 3 years ago, I'm like, you're crazy. You know what I mean? You're crazy. I'm pulling my head down, I'm working, right? Yeah. But I realized that I got to tell the story, for one, so the word gets out there, so people can see it. And then I opened up the ideals for to grow it, you know what I mean? So Mecklenburg County got involved. Last year, Jack and Joe of America stepped up. The year before that, Truist stepped up, you know what I mean? So people are stepping up, believing what we do, and we're expanding. So that's my journey on that side. Now you're going to say, Shawn, you're a developer. You ain't talking nothing about developing no houses. You talk about buying houses.
And being a mentor. I mean, you did a lot of developing than me.
Yeah. So I guess I hit on that now, and let me know if I'm talking too much. But I got into development after running the camps, after running the bars and restaurants. And I'll tell you a story. And one story messed me up. So I had a person who rented a house for me for 8 years. When she moved into the house, I'm not going to say her name, she moved in the house, she was an older lady, but she was working. And her and her husband both were working. And they had a daughter that was almost the age of what I am. So at the time, she might have been in her mid-30s.
Yeah.
So they moved into this house that I paid $30,000 for. They were paying me rent initially of $700 a month for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. Right. So they moved in there, and in that time period, the husband passed away, and I learned about that. But the daughter was working. She was working. Yeah. But Charlotte rents were dramatically jumping, right?
Yeah.
So good tenant. She was such a good tenant that I forgot she even rented my house. My rent would be in my mailbox on the 2nd of every month. She never called anything. This is the greatest salt of the earth person, right? And I would try to keep the rent reasonable. So gradually it trickled up. And people don't realize right now in Charlotte, for a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath house, you're paying over $2,000. You know what I mean?
Easily.
But I had got her up to maybe $1,400 a month, right? She was paying about $1,400. So people say that's a lot of rent, but it was way below what market was. And the reason I did it is because she was such a great person. And I never had any expenses. Like literally, I would have to tell her to stop fixing stuff in her house because she would just take care of everything. So She called me up. She's like, can you come by? I was like, all right, when I get a chance, I'll swing by. Is everything okay? Do you have a maintenance issue? Contact our maintenance. She's like, no, I want to talk to you personally. And again, she was a tenant that I had a personal relationship with.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll come by there, give me a day or two. I went by there, and she let me know her daughter, who was about the same age as me, had a stroke. And she had a total stroke. And in those years, she had retired from her job. So now she was on fixed income and SSI. So she said, Shawn, I can no longer afford to rent your house. We're going to move in with a family member. So I was like, nah. Like, we'll figure it out. Tell me what you can afford. Well, Shawn, we're just going to move. I need help taking care of my daughter and so forth. And I'm like, we'll figure this out. I said,
Right.
Take your time. Let's talk in a month or so. And, we'll figure out, how to make this work. But, and she's paid for this house now 2 times over with her rent, right? Or maybe 3 times over. So I went back over there maybe a month later, and the key was in the mailbox. She had moved out. So I called her up. She answered the phone. I'm like, I'm here to talk to you, and the house is empty. What's up? Like, I didn't want you to leave. And she was like, I know that, but I didn't want to put that stress on you. I don't want to be nobody's burden. We moved in with a family member. I want you to do well. And she talked to me. She was telling me, I love you and your beautiful wife and your beautiful kids. I want y'all to make money. So we moved somewhere else, rent somebody, make some money in the house. Bro, that broke my heart, man. That broke my heart. That was another point in my life. I was just like, man, am I just taken from my people? You know what I'm saying? And I really went internally with that. Like how did this get to this point? What could I have done differently? And what I could have done differently is when I first started renting to her, I could have got her ready to buy that house. And that's what I should have did. I should have got with her when she moved in, when it was her and her husband. They had good jobs. They had decent credit. Because a lot of people don't realize when you rent a house, well, they know this, you got to get your credit run.
Yeah. You
got to have 3 months income to pay the rent. So I was like, she had all these things. She could have purchased that house herself. She doesn't have the money to put it down, but over time, I could have helped her get ready to buy a house. And that's where I made my mistake. So how do I stop that from happening to the next family? How do I get them ready to own a house? How do I break the myth that you can't own a home? Because I think that's what it was with her is she felt that she couldn't own a house due to financial reasons, or some people are just caught in a cycle of that where their parents rented, their grandparents rented, so they just think it's what you're supposed to do. And renting is cool, but it's not sustainable. And it's not sustainable for the fact that how a house within 10 years can go from $700 a month to $2,200 a month.
Sadly.
Minimum wage in 2009 was $7.25. Minimum wage in 2026 is $7.25.
Yeah.
But rents in Charlotte have tripled.
Yeah.
So how do people keep up with that? And it's going to keep going up as 150-something people move here every single month. So, every single day. So how do we deal with that? So I said, I got to teach people how to buy houses. That's it. That's what God wants me to do. I know how to do it. But if I'm teaching them how to buy houses, how do I create the stock for them to buy the houses? So I just figure stuff out as I go. Like I said it earlier, there's no plan to this. I just get it done, and God takes care of me. What they say, God looks out for children of fools, and I ain't no child, So I went and bought a piece of land, man, and said, I'm going to build some houses. At that point, I had renovated a whole bunch of houses. I had done change of uses on restaurants and bars, but I had never done ground-up construction. And if you're in construction, it's totally different, It's fruit. One is a grape and one is a pineapple. So I'm trying to go from how to eat a grape to eating a pineapple. Totally different, a whole different challenge. So, again, blessings happen. I went out there and bought this piece of land and started cold calling builders. Hey, man, I'm trying to build some houses. I got a piece of land. Can you come give me a quote? And then, they would get out there and I'll be like, hey, man, I need you to keep your prices low because I'm trying to sell these houses. Same thing like Smith looked at me. And I go back to Smith because I didn't hit on that. Smith, after doing the camp 2 years, donated the facilities for free. So make sure I give them their props.
Shout out to the JCSU.
Yeah. So I just like with Smith, when you start telling people about what you're trying to do, they're like, there's something behind this, man. This dude is up to something. So I'm calling builders. I'm like, man, I don't even want to make no money. I'm trying to build these things, and I want to sell them to people. I told them the story I just told you. Like, man, I got to get people in these houses, and they got to be reasonable. So, a bunch of builders came out, and, they're shooting me estimates and all that. And then one company came out, True Homes. I got to give True Homes a shout out. Mm-hmm. They came out and listened to the story. And the founder of the company, unknown to me, was one of the people that came out to walk the land. He does big projects, but he heard the story, and he was like, "This can't be real. Like these guys can't be real." And he came out. He sent a heart, and he was like, "Hey, man, I can build these houses for you." And we were like, "Great." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How much? And he was like, "Well, we can figure that out later. But more than anything, I love what you're trying to do, and I want to mentor you and guide you on how to do this right," because he knew I was a fool. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that was 5 years ago, man. Fast forward right now, 5 years, we have over 700 houses right now under development, all for sale homes, all 80% AMI below. So what does that 80% AMI means? That is a family of four that makes a little over $85,000 a year. So that's your school teachers, that's your firemen, that's your policemen, that's your nurses. Those are families that are trying to make it and get ahead, but due to the prices and systems, they will never experience home ownership because it's too expensive. And we build these homes in partnership with builders across the state. And we're about to deliver 39 homes right in Hidden Valley right now. If you drive by Reagan Drive and Tom Hunter, those ones are ready to rock. And the city of Charlotte, God bless them, on that property, the city of Charlotte, it was the Economy Inn, which was a site of prostitution. It was a site of drugs. The hotel right down the street just got raided a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So you know what this is over there. The community came together and went to the city and told the city, we want that hotel gone. The city put together, first of all, the city purchased that hotel for $4.2 million. So the city purchased the hotel. The community said, we want to turn a corner of trauma into a corner of hope. How do we put something there that can reverse what's happening here? So home ownership, right? So they put out an RFP. We went in an RFP. Won it. We got that land from the city for $1.
Are you serious?
$1. And now we're building those 39 homes. If you drive by, you can see them going up. And we're marketing them and selling them at 8% AMI, which will be $250,000. So now people always come back to me, and it's 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath townhomes. So people say, Shawn, $250,000 isn't affordable. In Charlotte, technically, it's affordable, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The city of Charlotte has House Charlotte. You go to that program, you can get $80,000 of down payment assistance. So now these families are coming into these homes for $170,000. All right? Now that's affordable. And you want to go even deeper. If you're a school teacher at a Title I school, Truist has a program where they give you another $30,000 of down payment assistance. So that family is coming in at $140,000 for a 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath, brand new construction townhome.
Well, I got to ask you, because we got a couple of minutes, and I want to ask you, how can folks get connected? Because you're doing a lot.
I'm doing a lot.
From you're talking about from a developer perspective, and also mentoring our young people. How can people connect with you?
They can go to our website, www.kennedy-properties.com. They can get with us there, or I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. Shoot us a message. My admin will get right back to you, and we can teach you about that. We're going to do a housing seminar either in August or September.
Okay.
And we're going to do it big. So I need the whole city to come out for that. And we're going to teach you how to get in these homes. We're building more on Freedom Drive. I'm here in Charlotte. We're working on Park Church right now for 183 houses on Betty's Ford Road. So that's just in Charlotte alone. Get in front of it so you can experience home ownership. So that's home ownership. And Winston-Salem has believed in us. We're building 155 homes for the city of Winston-Salem. We're building another 15 homes for Greensboro. And then, like I said, the faith community has really stepped up. Park Church with their 183, Chappelle Memorial with another 39 homes. So yeah, we're moving, man. We got another 130 acres in Rock Hill working on, and another 30 acres we're working on in Henderson, North Carolina, that we don't have in that number yet, but we're going to be creating homes in that land.
No wonder why you got addicted to coffee.
Yeah,
okay.
and we didn't even talk about the Excelsior yet.
Look, that's why you got to come back. You got to come back.
Yeah.
Shawn Kennedy there, man. A coffee addict, but a better guy on top of that, man. Doing it all, man. Thank you for stopping by. Again, you were here before. We did talk about Excelsior Club, but thank you for coming back, sharing a piece of your journey, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
This is a blessing. Appreciate you and all you do, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man.
We didn't even talk about you not being able to swim.
Oh, we'll talk about that. I have updates coming up soon. Thank you guys for watching this episode 704 Unfiltered. We see you guys next week.
Peace.